everybody that
heard your voice,
has been to one of the events or whatever. So, and she yells out across, the street, and we're out for dining, sobbing. And the poor guy that I'm with doesn't know about the Nino stuff. So he's like, "What in the world is
what
going
the hell
on?"
was that? All right, let me get this over with, Juanito. All right, folks, trim with Nino, baby. A recent study found nearly half of patients following popular weight loss trends quit within a year. Often used lower than prescribed doses and ultimately lost less weight than they were led to believe. This is why I use the Secret Amazing new product, and I'm obsessed with the results. It is designed to naturally support my body's own GLP-1 production and boost levels by over 50% without drugs, prescriptions, or needles. It promotes safety and feelings of fullness, reduces cravings, reduces my hunger, hormones, helps me lose fat instead of muscle, and supports healthy blood sugar levels. Summer is here. It's time to get that beach body ready. Grab yourself a bottle of GLP-1 now and save up to 44% only at trimwithnino.com. Trimwithnino.com. Plus, you also get two free ebooks titled The 3-Week Diet and 53 Fat Burning Smoothies and Milkshakes. Get it, folks. Trim with Nino. All right, Juan. Putin.
Well, if you're worried about the beach body, I mean, it's that point in the summer, you better get your butt in gear or else.
I know,
you better
almost over.
Start planning your winter vacation to a sunny spot.
It's already almost over. Dang. I mean, this year just flew by, man.
It's not over. You got about 6-8 weeks. Fall across America. Most places are really still very good to the end of even October. I'll tell you one thing is some of my best and most enjoyable times are those fall times. You get these beautiful days, the weather's nice, and I love to go out and sit in my lawn chair and read, even 1, 2, 3, 4 in the afternoon. It'd be 75. It's not too hot. You can lay in the sun and get some sun. I love fall.
Wherever you're at right now looks really nice.
Oh, actually, this is here in London, so I'm over here on things for probably most of the week, and then headed to other parts of the world. So,
man, you stay busy, you stay traveling, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, it's nice now because everybody else is asleep. So,
yeah, I don't know when you sleep, man. I'll be honest, but whatever. Every time I call you, you're catching a plane, you're some other country. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, this is going to be a busy month, that's for sure.
Okay, so let's start with that. Busy month. What do you mean by that? Because I know that you said Trump has now lessened the time period of what he originally gave Putin, which was 50 days. Why is he lessening it? Why is he shortening it? What's the urgency?
Well, okay, let's qualify this. Trump had told Putin that if he wasn't going to get the Ukraine thing to a ceasefire and work some agreement with Ukraine.
But hold on, my audience always thought Putin was an ally to Trump. I mean, everyone's always thought that.
But I've told your audience over and over and over and over again, that is kind of internet Q lore. That's not exactly what's been said here, that we would get Russia to some type of decision to, agree with us and cut the crap. Well, that's been the desire all the way along. But at this point, let's be honest within this community. Russia has committed war crimes in the Ukraine.
But so has Ukraine.
Then I was going to go there next. And so has Ukraine. If you remember my buddy Scott Bennett, he went to, it was embedded with Russian forces, went out to the Donbass region and documented anti-personnel weapons that were used in civilian areas. and killed civilians. So the Ukrainians have, committed war crimes also, numerous of them. And, Scott's not here now, but there's others there that will be able to, bring that forward when the time is right. In this situation, Putin was pushed into it by Western powers, in my opinion.
He's just not cooperating. He just doesn't want to. Is Trump and him now enemies?
I wouldn't necessarily put it in the enemies, but President Trump, back when Zelensky went off the rails, Trump had a ceasefire agreement in place. Both Putin and Zelensky had said they would sign, that they would do a ceasefire. Zelensky comes over to the White House. Before he gets there, certain people in U.S. three-letter agencies and DOD got to him, as well as people in other NATO countries. And they told him, you do not want to enter into a ceasefire without having a peace deal first. So when he sat down with Trump, even though he'd agreed before he flew over from Ukraine that he was going to sign a ceasefire with Putin, and Putin agreed to sign the ceasefire, Trump had engineered it with his people. Zelensky, not Putin, Zelensky nixed the deal. You saw it on live TV.
Yep.
Trump broadcast the whole thing, and Zelensky laid a turd right there on the Franken carpet there in the Oval Office. That pissed off Trump and led to that little exchange that included Vance. And then Zelensky left the White House with his tail between his legs, got on a plane. 12 hours later, he's in London and talking with the folks in London. And they said, okay, no, we'll send troops in and blah, blah, blah. Look at who Trump's meeting with right now. He's meeting with the Prime Minister of England up there in Scotland. He wouldn't come here to England. He did it there in Scotland, but he got him to come on over. And by the way, Trump makes a great entrance. They took Marine One and Air Force One. He goes to the golf course in Marine One in Scotland.
There's also Golf Course One, doesn't he? The caddy, the bulletproof.
Yeah. Jen and I have wanted to go. I've got a bunch of points. I'm a Trump points millionaire, and we were going to use some of them in Scotland. We just haven't had time. We've been wanting to do that for 4 years, but haven't had time.
So what is it looking like? So now that we shortened it, what is it shortened down to again?
Well, again, think about what's going on. So Trump, even though it's just because he's over there golfing or whatever, doing a mulligan or something, he's actually meeting with the Brits. And he's reading the riot act to them also, because the people that do not want Russia anywhere in Europe and are working energy deals on the side to keep Russia out of the economies of Europe, including the oil gas stuff primarily, are the Brits. And so there's some playtime going on in the background. And by the way, none of the European Union countries or England, up until stuff that just happened literally in the last day or two, had agreed to certain financial arrangements. You've got tariff arrangements all around the world, and it's been the slowest dealing with the Europeans and the Commonwealth countries out of England. And they're going to have a come to Jesus moment in here somewhere. They're kind of already starting to go that direction, but they'll be aced out by the countries that get there first in having an entry point into the U.S. economy. In fact, I'm dealing with a situation that involves a number of very wealthy families in Europe that are concerned that they need an exit out of the euro and into the treasury dollar that's coming, and an intermediate point in gold and silver to convert some of their digital money into gold and silver on the way to getting to treasury dollars.
I never hear you talking about crypto, man. It's always gold and silver. That's one thing I notice about you. It's always gold and silver.
Well, because a digital fiat is even more dangerous than a paper fiat. At least with paper, you have some limit with the cost of paper, okay, and transportation and ink and all sorts of other things. People get confused what's really money. The Constitution is gold and silver coin. And what Kennedy was doing, even though he issued a silver certificate, which was paper money, the silver certificate was tied to silver on deposit in the Treasury, not the Federal Reserve. And so he issued dollars that were Treasury dollars, not Federal Reserve dollars. And many people think that that was the real reason why Kennedy was killed, in part. You know, it's really like the Orient Express. Who killed who? Well, everybody. They all had a hand in it.
Yeah.
And
so what are we looking at?
All of them.
What are we looking at here? So it doesn't look like Russia is going to want to come to a deal. I mean,
well, there's actually a couple different angles going on here. Again, where's the pressure on Russia? Trump is doing stuff behind the scenes, tied in with what's going on with the Brits, related to trade stuff and tariffs and all that, that will become more and more evident in the days and weeks to come. And then he's told Putin, if you don't get your ass in gear and start working towards some type of a resolution to stop the killing, then we're going to put sanctions on you. Initially, he gave him 50 days so that they could, figure something out, enough runway to figure it out. But they haven't done one thing since he issued that ultimatum. So then Trump said, okay, look, why wait 50 days? Both sides are losing 1,000 or more people a day on a good day. On a bad day, they're losing several thousand. So why wait? Because Trump, this is really important. Everybody here, I've mentioned already a couple of times to your audience at different times. Trump's most important thing is a starter early in this administration is to stop the killing. Stop the killing. That's why you saw what he did related to Congo, related to what he's done. See, we start doing that while I'm talking. Let me move to the next room here. That's one thing with doing stuff in the middle of the night is that they want to clean. But Trump, he must stop all killing. That's his main goal in life, right? So one of the things that he did, he's been working behind the scenes. He's gotten an agreement right now. This just happened between Thailand and Cambodia to stop shooting at each other there. That just happened. Okay? Everywhere he can put his hands on it, he's trying to stop the death, killing of people, because in his mind, and this is really an important thing, I think, for our community, he doesn't want, by any mechanism, for the demons, in a spiritual sense, to get fed.
See,
with blood.
this is where might lose people, but
I know that, but that's why I'm saying
my audience
I want to
especially.
say it.
No,
Because
I get
if you
it.
don't understand this about Trump, you do not understand where he's at right now. And remember, he didn't start any wars during his first term. Okay, that was unique about him. He believes that we have to stop the killing, and on the way past that, we can figure out how to, how can you have economic growth? How can you have economic stability anywhere in the world when the efforts of multiple nations are being pushed towards, um, uh, war and death and things like that? So you can be stable in your own situation, but what about the next one? And things have a way of blowing over and affecting things other places. So he's saying, no, we have to somehow stop the killing. And then in the peace that follows, we can figure out, proper alignments, arrangements, whatever, and start rebuilding. And that's where the economic stability comes from, is having social stability even out across the world. It just is part of his core belief at this point in time, and has been all the way on. It's been a driving force for him. So before you even get to the deal, you've got to stop the killing. That's where he's at. That's a pretty amazing thing. Name the leader that we've had.
He's looking at this as a spiritual contract with, we got to end the mass sacrificing of killing, right?
Yeah, you got to stop it somehow. If you don't, I'll try to step outside here. If you don't, you're not going to, you're feeding the demons. You see what I'm saying?
So now, what about with Netanyahu, Juanito? I know this is, we're just doing an update here for YouTube, but Netanyahu now, he's kind of giving him a cold shoulder as well, correct?
Well, again, it's all about the killing. If you think of what's going on in Gaza, they're having mass starvation there in Gaza right now, and that's been going on for quite some time. He has said the same thing about Putin as he has said about what's going on in Ukraine with Russia. He said, this isn't the Putin that I know that was having all these people killed, civilians included, in some of the attacks in Ukraine.
What does he mean by that? This isn't the Putin I know. Is he saying he's being controlled, or he's somebody else?
Yes, and that he's operating in a way that's, Putin came across as a good guy and trying to stop, trying to go right.
I've always thought they could be allies. I've always thought that they agreed on a lot of things. They both have the same enemy in mind, the globalists, and now it looks like they're going after each other. Could this be theater?
Well, okay. Let me help you with that, because I think this is an important point. In the Russia stuff, where they were accusing Trump of all these things, when Trump was just trying to, help Russia with a trade deal to, focus on being productive, as opposed to, sending arms to groups all over the world. When Trump did that, he was attacked as though he was somehow an ally, and in fact, even under the control of Putin. So then you had the whole Russia thing. Within the media was cooperative in trying to present Trump as somehow being the sycophant, the tool of Putin and Russia, a captured operation. It was totally false. in all regards. That's why it's coming out right now. But they're still trying to hold on to this idea that somehow Trump, because he's trying to bring peace to the world and trying to Russia's got to make a living too. Russia's people have to be able to do commerce, and in the world the way it is today, you got all.
Your phone just went out, Juan.
Am I there still?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm obviously sitting here, but in what he's doing, he's just trying to let them be part of the world in trade, doing things that make allow Russians to make a living too, right? With stuff that they have. So when you stop, I'm being chased by the floor cleaner.
Oh my gosh, I see it. Yeah.
I moved from one room to
So
the
are
other.
we going into a Cuban Missile style type of crisis? Cuban Missile Crisis 2.0?
Yeah, 1 second here.
I mean, because he's moved nuclear weapons into the UK, right? To put for a strategic response.
Sorry, I'm having a fun conversation with the cleaner. He's decided he'll work in one area and I can work in the other, and he's being very courteous. So go ahead, ask me the question there.
No, I said, I mean, we're moving nuclear weapons into the UK for some kind of strategic placement for a response. I mean, does this look like we're going into a Cuban Missile Crisis 2.0? Because if Putin says, "Hey, man, I don't want this deal. We're too far into it anyway," what's next? What's next, Juanito?
Well, again, it is Cuban Missile Crisis 2.0. Think about it.
We're not there just yet until people are scared and they're in like lockdowns or something. You know, I mean, people won't realize the reality of this situation until it's affecting them. Until like the news is coming on, maybe EBS, something like that. People are not going to realize the severity of this. I mean, we're way ahead of the ball. We're way ahead of the ball here, giving people a heads up, and people don't realize this. Like, Juan, you're over the target a lot, and here we are. We're coming into another, I guess, a standoff, right, with Russia.
Well, I said it for quite some time, and then just before the Ukraine war started, Lavrov, Russian foreign minister, used almost exactly word for word the same terminology. Of course, we have friends there in the presidential compound that kind of said the same thing. He was repeating it, but the short version is that it actually, at a certain level, this wasn't hard to predict because there's a crowd behind the scenes that needs the conflict to obtain their goals, which is World War IV. We already won the Third World War. People don't realize it. With the collapse of the Soviet Union. But they need World War IV to get their one world government. This is the wet dream of Albert Pike and other groups. It's not just Albert Pike and the Masonic crowd. There's royalists, there's certain business groups, intelligence groups that see this as favoring a world where they.
Juan, I mean, I don't think this is the only card they're going to play, to be honest with you. I think they got the alien card coming. And
alien card is later. It's not this round.
Well, hold on. Maybe not. Well, I'm sure you know, but I'm just going to say right here. It says that this alien object is in our solar system and it's hostile. Harvard scientists warn hostile alien craft could strike Earth in just months. This is a real article, folks. I'm not making this up. These are real articles. It's all over the internet right now. They're already telling us that a hostile alien craft could strike Earth in just months. These are real articles.
Okay. Let's have some fun here.
Well, fun. I mean, these are real articles. These are what they're putting out, not me.
Okay, well, let me say this.
They're just getting us ready.
I have one of my contacts, okay, and he had an experience that was hard to explain. And he was in one place, and then with only an hour's difference as far as he saw on his watch and other stuff, he ended up in another place that was about 10 hours away. And just totally inexplicably. And then when he was talking with people that knew him, and he was trying to figure out, explain, they thought he'd had some kind of an event. He was actually looked at professionally to see if maybe he'd had like a stroke or on drugs and other stuff, and decided that wasn't what was going on, but he was acting so crazy. And but when he was talking initially with the friends, he said something really strange. He said, the person that's talking to you is not the person you know, or something to that effect. And we're visitors here to the planet, and you're going to have nuclear war and destroy yourselves, and we're here to stop that. And all the basic stuff that we've heard over and over again. It's been a repeating mantra, okay, within this particular crowd. And he couldn't account for this missing time. It was very, very embarrassing to him. And then he had to go through all sorts of gyrations to get home. And this is something that he personally had a very hard time reconciling in his mind. The people that he knew that he talked to said, that the person, he was talking, but his voice was weird, and talked some crazy shit talk about, like they were aliens using his body to communicate and stuff like that. But there was aspects of what happened that defy explanation, unless they were put on a, SR-71 or something and flown where he went to. It was just impossible to have had that. Now, we've actually had a number of fairly similar reports come up over time. There was an incident with a kid in an airplane, ended up off the coast of Mexico. There's another incident with a kid down in Brazil that ended up in another nearby country and had a similar claim. So this is kind of that internet lore type of a thing, and you can't really fully nail it down, or is it true or whatever, and the guys sound crazy. And then, why would aliens have to do this with, some buckwheat, whatever? But when you think of it in terms of, let's say, the cabal, these globalista, a breakaway civilization, which is what really we're dealing with, trying to mask who they are with this story, similar to what Edward Teller told his secretary, that they were going to use the alien card. Remember, Iduf famously asked Podesta in an email, is it time to play the alien card?
Well, that's my
point.
Not
aliens playing the card.
I know, but that's my point. Here comes this interstellar object coming through our solar system on a collision path with Earth, on a collision course with Earth. The timing's perfect, and it'll be here in a few months. Sounds to me like they're about to play this card. I mean, if this stuff gets out of hand, if the nuclear war doesn't work out for them, why wouldn't they go to the alien card? They're already preparing the public for it.
Yeah, I'm fairly skeptical because within this current political environment that we're in right now, we're not going into World War IV and Armageddon. We're at an intermediate step where we'll have our Cuban Missile Crisis, we'll have our near-death experience as a nation. But this isn't the big one. They're not quite prepared globally for what this breakaway wants to do. It's just the way it is, my opinion. So the stage is not fully set yet.
Could it be a desperate move? Like maybe they need to play it because Trump's moving so fast?
No. They're going to let us do what we have to do. The real conflict is going to be America and a number of allies that decide to break with us versus this other crowd. The sides are forming pretty steadily. And, at some level, let me just be frank, the big one that is the challenger to America isn't Russia or China. It's the British Commonwealth. And goes back to some of these royalists and their families like that and the money and all that. We'll work a deal for the time being because it's in their interest and ours. But there's a bigger conflict somewhere out there coming.
So you're telling me you've always said we're on a collision course with China. So this war is inevitable. It's imminent.
Well, we're on a collision course. It doesn't mean that we go to bullets and missiles. We're coming up on a trade financial war, and who's really running China behind the scenes? I think a good case can be made from the financial arena. China's being puppeted by the Commonwealth, by England itself.
They're pulling all the strings.
Yeah, so again, when you look at where the dossier came from, it didn't come from Russia. It came from the city within the city of London. The old Roman city.
Well, be careful with that.
Let me clarify something. Okay, let me clarify something. Our these battles that we're in all over the world aren't necessarily with the nation, whatever nation name you want to put on it. 180 countries in the world now. It's with the puppeteers of those nations. And that's what we know, especially even with what's coming on the 2020 stuff, with the election stuff.
Be careful.
Okay, that through the way things were done for a couple of decades, the people that were voted for in countries all around the world, 70 of them, 71 of them, plus the United States, they didn't get who they voted for. They got somebody else's selection that was put in there artificially. So, we're not upset with any particular nationality or national group. It's the people that hijacked.
Right. One. Let's talk about this on Nino's Corner.tv. Is that cool? Is there anything else we should touch up on here on FluffTube?
Well, just that, prayer required. Trump is on a holy mission. If you're out there to stop the killing and then try to get to some kind of agreement, in places where people have enough reason to have to go to war and kill each other over it. It's a righteous thing to try and stop the killing, and soldiers put on a uniform because that's what they do. in countries all over the world, and then they go do the bidding of people in political power. Are they innocent? Um, could they reject that commission? Are they in a position to do the fight? Most times not. They'd be considered a traitor if they didn't,
Right.
in a lot of instances. So it's tough. Even if they're soldiers that have taken a commission, either side in any of these conflicts that you might mention, are they at some other level innocent? They're just having to do what they have to do. They train to go against a real enemy, but these are kind of fabricated. And at the end of the day, after 3+ million people dead, headed for 3.5 million in Ukraine, between the two sides plus civilians, was there anything gained worth that? All the infrastructure.
They don't care.
They do care.
No, the globalists
That's the
don't
problem.
care.
For the people that are caught in between, they do care. Even for soldiers, they didn't sign up for some of the bullshit that's gone on here. So, and it's not just the ones that are killed. How many people are horribly damaged, physically and mentally, after this stuff? Some of the damage goes into the soul in ways that you don't recover from. It's so much worse, and it's going on all over the world. The stuff I can tell you, you're still losing. The figure I was given the other day, South Africa, 80 people there dying every day, 80 people a day. And the way they're being killed is terroristic on purpose. So they're being killed in the most gruesome ways to send a message. And, people that, they're just civilians.
Juan, let's bring this over to .tv. Let's finish it up in .tv. Are you all right with that?
Yeah, I just let me just say a quick prayer. Father God, we pray for President Trump. We pray for the people around him as they work to stop the killing in whatever way possible, to encourage the various parties by one way or another to stop the killing. We pray for their protection as they do this work, and for the protection of those who are trying at the highest levels to stop the killing in countries all over the world, and to try and bring a more peaceful environment in which we can negotiate through and get to sanity, and to stop the blood sport. We ask you that President Trump and those who are like-minded in other countries be assisted. They have angelic assistance, protection, provision for what they need to do, guidance, and that they would be able to bring this needed peace quickly so that we can stop feeding the demons. We ask for this help in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Folks, Juan will be the general in the general's tent this Wednesday, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I don't know what time it'll be for you out in where you're at.
Depends on where I'm at. It'll be either 8 hours difference or 10 hours difference for me, depending. That may be my travel day. I'll know by tomorrow.
Okay, so we'll know tomorrow. But we
the heat on over at the White House. The White House has made a formal request beyond what Todd Blanche asked last week for Tina to be remanded to federal custody. It was a formal request from the White House to Colorado to turn Tina over to federal custody. the reason they ask for it that way is it just avoids all the hassle in courts and everything else. Doesn't force the president to have to go, to another level unnecessarily. And there may, trust me, that's the thumb screws getting turned. But they're not going to sit on it very long. And as I've said, the White House, president, need to own this. They should be looking to governor or courts who've already shown their political, gamesmanship, if you will. They have a political prisoner. Everybody knows she's a political prisoner, and they're not going to let her go because it serves their purposes. The other side of the coin is now the administration has to crank up the heat. So this is a first step. She just got her x-ray yesterday. She was back. Was extremely weak. She couldn't even go call on the phone hardly to let people know that she was okay this morning, but she did spend her night in the cell last night. She describes this, my chief of staff was talking with Pat Byrne earlier today, and Pat was mentioning that, he's a cancer survivor. He has gone through this since he was a teenager.
Jeez.
And, he's had like 160 procedures, and it's just, it's brutal. And heart goes out to Tina, but he understands, you sometimes detect things that are hard to articulate to the doctors, yet you just know. And Tina said this is like when she got diagnosed the first time, they just couldn't find it. And then all of a sudden, by the time they found it, it was already to a point where they had to remove a third of her lung. And this feels like that. She just got the cough that won't go away, and total exhaustion, things like that.
So time's ticking.
Clock is ticking, man. You know that in order to, there's a tipping point for your body. She needs to be out, get a chance to fight, and everybody needs to up the game. And so the White House's response that there was like 1 million views on one of the posts that just came out with that official note that they had formally asked for Tina Peters to be remanded to federal custody. I'd keep the emails going to the White House. I would back off till it's done because it isn't done. Just
keep putting the pedal to the metal, right, Juan?
Yeah, there's a lot of important things. We're going to talk about Venezuela and China in a moment, but any victories that we have, including with the election stuff like that, are going to feel very shallow if such an important and iconic person in this whole fight is allowed to just be a byproduct of that process.
Just basically discarded.
Well, what more can I say? 1.5 years, and the whole time, everybody knew that it was just a political prisoner thing. That Trump for 6 months, he's been saying, get her out, get her loose, get her free. Says don't people over 6 months, and they just have been, all of them impotent to get it done.
You would think when the president says, get her out of there, the doors would fly open in that moment and she'd be out.
In military terms, when the commander says something like that, asses jump, feet fly, people get things done, it's all elbows and assholes. And in this case, the people close to him just don't seem to be able to figure it out. And so at some level, it falls back to the president himself to figure it out. Get everybody on the phone, listen to all their versions, find out where the blockage is, who's got the disagreement, whatever the problem is, figure it out. Just figure it out.
So let's get to, just for a moment, let's pivot over to China. Now, I mean, we're there. We have our battleships there, aircraft carriers there. Uh-oh. I've seen videos of China flexing a little bit with aircraft flying around our battleships, you know, kind of putting the pressure on us. But now they're sending, from what I understand, troops to Venezuela. What kind of reinforcements are they sending to Venezuela, and will that stop the process that we're already in?
Well, what China has done is they've said we're going to have a no tariffs agreement with Venezuela, with Maduro. And but Venezuela doesn't make anything. Their population is, you know,
they make fentanyl with China.
Yeah, well, that's true. You know, in South Africa, the fentanyl that's getting into South Africa and then up to Europe is coming over on Chinese ships directly from Venezuela. So you see these little boats getting blasted out of the water. China's big stuff has been going there, getting fentanyl, going over to the coast of South Africa. They get 15, 18 miles offshore, and then people come out in skiffs, and they'll take abalone, which is very valuable, and other seafood out to the ship and trade it for fentanyl. And then it goes up through up South Africa and into through North Africa into Europe. And they make massive amounts of money on it. That's been part of the drug trade. And in fact, President Trump, South Africa is going to end up being tied very directly with Venezuela. We have a $50 million bounty on Maduro for his drug trafficking and his assistance with terrorism as a terrorist leader. And he's not there in office legitimate from the people in Venezuela. So he's a lawless leader who is there through, he's tied in to the same group, same operations as Ramaphosa over in South Africa, the president of South Africa, the one that President Trump had in the Oval Office with all of his advisors, and then he pants them right there in public over the killing of the white African farmers and their funerals, and showed all the videos. And Ramaphosa was like, "Oh golly, I'm shocked, I tell you, you know," and total bullshit. President Trump has referred Ramaphosa over to the Justice Department, and they're preparing to put down an indictment of Ramaphosa that will mirror the indictment of Maduro. And so I would expect a similar $50 million bail or a bond. And so China is stepping in because these are footholds, toeholds for a lot of other things they're doing. So they've sent a shot across the bow, not to the rest of the world, but only to America primarily. We're going to do trade with Venezuela. We're going to get oil out of Venezuela, and don't mess with our trade partner. And China's going to suck the oil out of those fields. So the largest oil fields in the world, bigger than Saudi Arabia, are in Venezuela. Their largest field is known as Rockefeller Field. And so China's going to be in there operating that. And the question is, do we in China want to face off? They're going to want to run their ships in and out, their tankers in and out. What's going into China on those ships in the form of things to continue manufacturing drugs and other stuff? And what's coming out of China on those ships? Is it more drugs going to other places? We'll have to see. But the Trump administration, they anticipated these types of actions. So don't think that we're shocked and surprised. We're not. It's just, China's responding. They're backing their buddy, their partner, which includes Maduro, an exporter of terrorism and drugs.
what does this do for the timeline? I mean, of us striking Venezuela, I mean, this puts a halt on everything, doesn't it? I mean, what do we do from here?
We've let everybody know. We'll let China know too. When we go in, and I mean, they're, even stuff that I saw in the last.
Could it cause World War III?
Oh, I don't think any side is quite that ready to go there yet. But certainly, we can do some pretty surgical stuff, and we'll let China know. If you got anybody in the way, get them the hell out of the way. If you're on a Venezuelan military base where we decide we're going to hit something, you might have 15 minutes notice, but you better stay in contact with people, and all military targets are fair game.
So Maduro's gotten a lifeline. He's gotten what he asked for, and now it's going to be really surgical to get this guy.
Well, there's surgical and there's surgical. Any military base, any military target at this point is probably fair game. And you can just bet. Here's one thing that a lot of people forget in the course of all of this. Well, we've been getting ready to do things in Venezuela, just like we did before Desert Storm when we were in the Desert Shield zone. We went in and paid a lot of military commanders, police chiefs, political persons. We gave them deals to stand down, stay out of the way, tell their people to back off and stay out of the way. And so quietly behind the scenes, they picked a side, and we, surgically went in and avoided those particular people and places. And we also gave them the enticement. You knew exactly where Maduro is at exactly a certain time, blah, 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 and we're successful in finding him. That's that $50 million. We'll pay it to whoever does the job. This is what we need, okay? So Venezuela internally is very disrupted, and Maduro himself can't trust even his most trusted people. He's in a hell of a bind, and he'd like to work a deal with the United States. He'd like China to be able to protect him, but they're not really going to be able to. So even though China's in there, they're trying to make it difficult. We'll let them know, hey, you're in the way. You're going to get hurt. Fair warning. Don't do it. You want to trigger, there's the trigger. And we'll see how that goes. But we shouldn't be afraid to do the right thing here. We're not.
But you've said after Venezuela, or simultaneously, we're going to be going into Africa.
Well, yes, because Africa, so much of what's going on there affects the whole world also. And
well, I mean, is it really for the Christian genocide, or is it for minerals? Or both?
Oh, hold on. Let me make sure everybody here understands this. We have all the rare earth materials we need right here in the continental United States and Alaska. Everything we need. We are going to other places and working deals because we want to have the world be stabilized, and we want people to decide they want to partner with us. We're casting a bigger net. We don't need any of these people, except that within the way the world works, we're in a global war. And we are being confronted by forces and powers that are global in nature. And we've been forced through all sorts of backdoor deals from within our own government, USAID, World Economic Forum, all sorts of bullshit, where we've been paying for a lot of mischief all over the world. So we need to go back and take corrective action and help those people too. We can't save America over the dead bodies of these other countries. In fact, that was part of the thing that was disturbing. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the president, was upset and kind of disowned her the other day. I hope it's only temporary, but She'd been criticized.
Why do you hope it's temporary? She's completely gone against the party.
Well, here's the deal. People think again, and they, straighten out or whatever. But she was upset with President Trump and the party because they're paying attention all over the world and seemingly not here in the United States, which really isn't a true statement. Part of getting America stable is getting the area out past the wire stable. Okay? You have to think more globally. And a lot of these groups, man, they are scary, dangerous in these other places, the things that they can do back to here. So better to fight the enemy over there than here. And so part of what the objective has been is to force them to fight closer to their home, where they're more vulnerable, and not be able to export these problems to us here on U.S. soil. So focusing on things other parts of the world is not contrary to this policy of stabilization for America. It's part of the policy of stabilization, and you got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. And so, yes, there's big things happening other places. You want to stop drugs on the street in the United States? Forget the bullshit, get the bull. Venezuela is the bull. They are the ones that are creating that shit, okay? You want to get to China, but you can't do China quite yet, other than the tariffs like that. Well, you go get to those places that they're partnering up with that are part of the core of the problem. So South Africa, Venezuela, and even the people tied to Ukraine. There's stuff that we tried to do all the way back in Trump's first term, all the way before he was elected first time around, going on over in Ukraine with the Biden crew and other political games, political criminal gangs related to the energy stuff, all the way back with Hillary and 15 other political families. And only just now are the prosecutors getting the information in Ukraine that they're proceeding with, $100 million in payoffs here and there and other places. All the people that were benefiting before Ukraine went to war. And as I've said to your audience numerous times, the war in Ukraine, in part, is about covering over the trail to get to the money laundering through Ukraine, the political money laundering going on all over the world, and to so destroy all the people and places and evidence, etc., that you could never do prosecutions there. They're just covering the trail, and they're doing it over the bodies of millions of people. When Putin said he's going to hold Nuremberg-type trials in the Donbass, he's not kidding, just like we're not kidding about Gitmo.
Okay,
we aren't going to have huge trials at Gitmo. Just so everybody knows, it's coming.
All right, Juan, I appreciate this broadcast. Quick and urgent update, folks. So China has entered the building. Let's see how this plays out. Juan, where do people go? TheJenniferMack.com, TheJenniferMack.com.
Yeah, TheJenniferMack.com, and probably shortly I'm going to have to up prices on the silver. I held it back because I knew that even though it surged forward, it was going to roll back the last couple times, but it's shown that it's ready to break out, and as soon as it breaks out this next time, I expect it to, the next real price point is 70, and it's pushed, 55 a couple of times over the last 2 weeks, and it's just amazing, and so I'll have to do that. We have silver that we ordered when the price was down there at around 45, and we'll sell that out probably this weekend by Monday at the latest, I'm sure. And then same thing over at JenniferMack.com. By the way, Jennifer has a really cool Megador tie over there, and I think it's in a little package or whatever, but tie for men. and she made like a really inexpensive package of a couple of things for fun. And so you might want to go over and take a look at that at jennifermac.com. And I'll probably put that maybe even over at Gumroad too. But anyway, appreciate always, Nino. And pray for Tina, but also making the calls. You know, I will tell you this, a bunch of people sent messages over to Dan Scavino. And because, you know, they turned off the White House line for taking comments. I mean, I think we got like 1 million. But Scavino has been responsive a little bit. He's kind of a fun guy and very, very tight with the president. You know, sending him a note concerning Tina, if you're on X or in Truth Social or something, is probably not wasted time. And, you know, my main thing is that Tina was trending on Thursday at the top of the X posts and social media. I think we have to kind of keep it there while this works its way through the White House.
Yeah, we can't let it fizzle out. We can't let it fizzle out.
It ain't done till it's done. And we've had a few surges previously, and it just didn't get done. The White House has formally requested that Colorado release Tina. They're still sitting on it. The court was going to respond on a habeas corpus, produce Tina, blah, 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 a month ago. We're 4 weeks out, and crickets. It's really not a common thing. Usually the court is very responsive on something like this. Crickets.
Well, this is war.
Her health is in the line. That's right. And she's iconic to the Patriot community, the president's community. So there's a point where the cup is full and the talk is over. And we're just asking that if the president's not getting advice on how to do this that allows them to get it done, maybe he needs to kick those advisors to the curb for a day or two and bring in other people. We have plenty of people that have paths forward